So, this pandemic has changed many of our dietary patterns. For some, it might be for the better, where they're not eating out as frequently and they're really making friends with their kitchens again. For others, though, they may be challenged by some of the snack food in their lives and the hyper-palatable foods that combine salt, sugar, and fat in ways that really does make it difficult to eat just one. In terms of what to do about it, the key is to not be hungry. And so, in terms of not being hungry, there are some strategies you might employ. Reducing or replacing your liquid calories with solid calories. We know that foods fill us up much more than liquids do. And so, if you've got juice and milk in your life, and those calories are coming into your diet, replacing them with solids, cheese and fruit, for instance, you might find that you're less hungry overall and you can reduce the amount of snacking that you're doing. The other thing you want to focus on, I think, would be to add protein with every single meal and snack. There's some data to suggest that might be beneficial. It might even be beneficial to some degree to blood sugar control. Cooking certainly is a helpful thing to do because the foods that are ultra processed or takeout or restaurants, those foods have way more in the way of calories. And definitely, if you can increase those foods that have low energy densities. So vegetables, legumes, these are things that can fill you up with volume, leave you feeling much more full. That can have a benefit to reducing your snacking and your grazing on ultra-processed foods and snack foods. You might try to reduce how much of those are in your home. You may try to get single serving versions of these sorts of foods. People who have vacuum sealers at home, you should know that they do seal chip bags. And so taking out the portion that you want and then resealing the bag can be helpful for those who are comfortable having foods in their home rather than just ordering them or buying them when they're out periodically from time to time. There are also medications available that can help reduce cravings, reduce hunger, and enhance fullness. And certainly if you feel that you're trying your best from a behavioral perspective and you're still struggling with cravings, hunger, and fullness, that might be a discussion worth having with your family doctor or your endocrinologist. Stay safe, stay healthy.
I understand during this time money can be tight, so I have a few basic tips to help you save some money when buying food. First off, plan ahead. That means plan your meals for the week, base those weekly meals around items that are on sale, make a list and stick to it when you go to the grocery store. Do less impulsive buying. Secondly, plan meals with less meat. Meat can be pricey, so consider using dried or canned chickpeas, black beans or lentils. Try canned salmon or tuna, tofu or eggs, as these are great protein options that are often cheaper than meat. You can make a bean burrito or vegetable omelet with toast, tofu vegetable stir fry with side of noodles, or a rice and bean casserole with frozen vegetable mix. Which brings me to my next point: buy frozen and canned. Frozen vegetables and fruit are just as nutritious as fresh and can often be cheaper. Buy the canned items too. Canned tomatoes, for instance, is a great addition to a meal. And then 4, buy bargain. Go to a grocery store that does price check. Be prepared when you go so you get the best price for your items. There's apps that can help you do this. And then buy no name or store brand items. Look at the upper and lower shelves of the aisles for the cheaper or better priced items. And then compare unit costs. The unit cost or unit price tells you how much something costs per unit or per 100 grams or 100 milliliters. You can usually find the unit price in a small print under the main price. This price can help you compare small and large products or between brands so you can make sure you get the best price for your items. And so these are just a few tips to get you started, but feel free to reach out to us at Diabetes Canada for more ideas.
During this very stressful time during the COVID-19 pandemic, we are seeing a rise in alcohol purchases and consumption. So it is really important to talk about the adverse health effects that alcohol can have. From a blood sugar perspective, the carbs in your drink will elevate blood sugar. In excess, alcohol can lead to poor decisions about diabetes treatment, insulin dosing, eating choices, and so forth. The most concerning thing is that alcohol can lead to low blood sugars often hours after alcohol is consumed. From a weight management perspective, the alcohol itself is empty calories. Our body puts metabolism of everything else, including fats and carbohydrates, on hold to deal with and metabolize the alcohol. We also don't get any fullness sensation from the calories from alcohol. And on top of that, we have the non-alcohol calories in our drinks to contend with as well. For example, the carbs in our beer or in our drink mix. Another concern is that alcohol impairs viral immunity and bacterial immunity. Chronic alcohol abuse is also associated with an increased risk of acute respiratory distress syndrome, or ARDS, which is one of the manifestations of a more severe COVID-19 infection. Alcohol also messes up our sleep, which can make it harder to manage sugars and to manage the stress and emotions that are often running high during this pandemic. During this time, it's really important to be aware of your alcohol consumption. Are you having a glass of wine because you enjoyed the taste with your meal, or is it a coping strategy for you? If so, how can you find a better way to cope? And importantly, if you think that there may be a problem with alcohol consumption, make sure that you reach out for help. Please see my blog post on this at www.drsue.ca for more information on this topic.
As you can imagine, we are learning more and more about COVID-19 infection on a daily basis, getting information from around the world. And it is now recognized that there are individuals who have asymptomatic COVID-19 infection, or what's called pre-symptomatic COVID-19 infection, whereby they have contracted the virus, are able to spread the virus, however, may not yet display symptoms or may display symptoms later on. The median time to actually have symptoms of COVID-19 show up is approximately 5 to 6 days. And 99% of patients, if they're going to have symptoms, typically show them within 14 days of getting the infection. Now, to answer your question specifically about those with diabetes, we do not have those data as to whether those with diabetes can also have asymptomatic disease, although I have no reason to think that they would be any different. Therefore, yes, I believe it is possible that someone with diabetes could also have asymptomatic COVID-19 infection. And the reason I say that is because we do not really know why some people have asymptomatic, whereas others have significant symptoms. So therefore, in the case of your father specifically, it would depend on when the diagnosis was made, when we think he actually contracted the virus, and the amount of time, given that 99% of patients who will display symptoms will do so within 14 days. I guess the most important thing to bear in mind is that even though he is asymptomatic, given that he has tested positive, he is able to spread the virus, and therefore means of protecting himself and protecting those around him are absolutely critical. I wish you and your family the best of luck.
Hi, thanks for asking that honest question. The truth is that the science behind COVID-19 and how it impacts some of the health conditions that people have, including diabetes, is still evolving. What we know in regards to the question, the ACE inhibitors, ARBs, angiotensin receptor blockers, are blood pressure lowering medications that are used, that are prescribed in people with diabetes for kidney protection as well as heart protection. And DPP-4 inhibitors are diabetes medications that are used to reduce glucose in type 2 diabetes. What we know until now, at least on a basic science level, is that the receptors that these medications act on are the same receptors that the COVID-19 virus also uses to enter certain body organs as well. The basic science research that has been done in this sphere points to there not being increased harm, even though it's the same receptor. In fact, some basic science research suggests, hypothesize that there may be some benefit in terms of these medications in COVID-19 situation. Also, the clinical data that we have from various countries that have looked into these different medications that were being used in people who were hospitalized for COVID-19 infection are also very reassuring in that there was no increased harm in people who were on these medications. In fact, one study published last week suggests that there may in fact be some reduction of complications of COVID-19 infection for people who were on ACE inhibitor ARB medications as such. So overall, until now, we think these medications are doing a good job for cardio protection, the heart protection, the kidney protection, and for blood pressure lowering diabetes drugs. And they at least reassuringly do not increase the harm from COVID-19. So I would suggest that anybody who is taking these medications for diabetes or for blood pressure should continue on with these medications and be reassured with the data that we have. Stay safe.